Right now we present the fine art of coaching. Here to speak to you. Here to speak to you is the president and founder of SJC Boxing in Fort Myers. He serves as vice president of the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame, and he is a 2009 Florida Boxing Hall of Fame inductee. Please welcome Mr. Steve Canton.
Thank you, Bob. And you know, it's great to be here with friends. This is a highlight of the year for me. I look around the audience, I see old friends that I knew from many years ago. I see new people that I've met, and we're all here for the same reason, to enjoy the weekend and honor the legacy of the great sport of boxing within our state. And give yourselves a hand. I'm very happy to be with you people, intelligent people who know the sport of boxing. That's what I like to be around. And that's what you people are. Man, Larry, years back, Canastota. Larry, well, yeah, he just felt, I just woke him up, that's why they did it. And Rod, and Rick back there is one of the 8, along with Brian, is 3 of the 8 people left from the original class of 2009, right? They're in the room today. We had 22 inductees in 2009. There's 8 of us left. So enjoy each other as we're here. I come here to these weekends, and I enjoy the weekends. The highlight of the year, as I've said many times. When I leave and go home, there's always a couple of thoughts in my head. And what that is who did we just see for the last time? Who is going to get inducted next year? And will I still be around to enjoy it? That's the thoughts that are in my head. If everybody has that thought, you'd appreciate each other a lot more during the year. Okay? Now, let's go on to a few things. How many people here are old enough to remember boxing and see boxing in the 1940s or 50s? Anybody? Brian, Larry, Rick, myself. Okay, 1960s and after. 70s. 80s and on, okay? Now, there's a difference. Those of us who saw boxers in the 1940s and 50s and see boxers today, we see a very big difference in the two. And it's in the quality of the training, it's in the quality of the fighters, it's in the sportsmanship of the athletes, it's in the character of everybody concerned. Big difference. And what we want to do is we want to kind of analyze why and how we can go back to how things were. I can see today fighters that are out there earning a living, having fun, some of them doing things they shouldn't do, and the fans today enjoying their action. They're watching them, they think they're great fighters. And there are a few good fighters today, but there's not many great fighters. And there's a reason for that. There's not many trainers left. You have good athletes today. And the good athletes, they need teachers to become good boxers. And the teachers are gone. It used to be called the sweet science. Not the sweet science anymore, it's more of the sweet and sour science. After all, what is boxing anyway? Think about what is boxing. One of the oldest sports ever, right?
Yep.
It's 2 people in shorts fighting for a belt. That's the sport of boxing, right? Okay, and for a purse to go along with that belt. Okay? The difference that I see between what was and what is, before you had fighters that would go to work in the gym, and they would do everything it takes to live boxing 100%. 24 hours a day, 24 days, whatever it is, 30 days a year, 365 days in a year. Can't think straight. They would dream boxing, they would train, they would work. That's all they thought about. They would get up in the morning, do their road work. You wouldn't have to go wake them up. You wouldn't have to go fight with them to run. They would get up and run. And they would run with the big boots on like we did in the old days. And what would they do after they did their morning work? Then they would rest up a little bit and come in the afternoon and back in the evening to train. Now, I say that in the evening because there's a couple of reasons for that. Today, you have more health clubs than boxing gyms. The old school gyms are gone. Not too many left. We just celebrated 30 years in Fort Myers. And we're one of the few old-fashioned. And today you hear people use cliches. I'm going to be bouncing around because, like I said, I got nothing there, so I think what I come up with. But we talk about old school. Today, who knows what old school is? Most people today were never around to see old school fighters. They don't have something in their mind concrete to compare this with that. They compare this, and it's all not very good. And they're gushing how great they are. And the reporters today are gushing how great they are. And the commentators are reporting how great they are. And the old timers that saw them and saw the previous ones really know there's no comparison. And we get labeled as being blind, so to speak. We're not up to speed. We're not with this generation. No, the difference is we saw the old fighters and we see these fighters. And there's a big difference. And it's not in the athlete itself, it's in the training of the athlete. They argue today, we're bigger, we're faster, we're stronger, but we're not more technical. And what does it matter if you're bigger if you're fighting by weight classes? You know? And what they want to do today is they want to take shortcuts. They don't want to work. Everything is a shortcut. Everybody remembers David Tuin. He's a great fighter, great left hook puncher, right? You remember his knockouts and the highlight reel knockout with John Ruiz with that left hook in 19 seconds of the first round. He was going to be unbeatable. And he signed to fight Lennox Lewis for the world title. And people that saw David Tuin before the fight and saw him in the fight wondered what the difference was. And the difference was he took a shortcut in training that many people aren't aware of. That's the only fight in his entire career that he did absolutely no road work on the road, 100% on a treadmill. He got in a fight, he had no legs, and he couldn't fight. And he lost every round of the fight. People don't know that. I worked with David quite a bit in the past. I match-made probably 25% of his fights. He was a well-conditioned, serious athlete, very detailed, very hard worker. But that fight, he only did treadmill work. And there was a difference in the ring. Okay, how many people saw Joshua fight with this upset loss a couple of weeks ago? We've all seen, we've heard about it. What's the analyzation of this? If you look at things, when he came out of the Olympics, he was slender compared to now. He was slim, boxer's build, great athlete. He was very detailed to learning the proper technique of boxing. He was doing things right, he was standing right, he was stepping right, throwing punches right. He's very detailed, and he was a good athlete's body, and he was moving up real quick, and at the time he was the best heavyweight in the world. And the best fight he had was Klitschko getting off the canvas with a big punch and winning that fight, showing the heart. And ever since that fight, he's gone downhill for just a couple of reasons. And what they are is he did no longer go with old school training. He brought in what they call new school, which I call no school. Because you have, when you look at something and you have something that's good, you don't change it. We had trainers for years that were great. Ray Arcel, Georgie Benton, Manuel Stewart, the great trainers throughout the years, Eddie Futch, Pete Brodsky getting inducted. New York previously and here now, old friend from years back. I mean, you have trainers before that train people the sport of boxing. Today, you have someone puts a towel on their shoulder and they are a trainer, and they're teaching guys so poorly, and they're working so hard, doing it so wrong, it hurts to watch it if you know what you're watching. But the people today don't know what they're watching, they know what they're being told. And it's sad to see that. And what Joshua did is he went on a bodybuilding program. He became a weightlifter. And he spent all his time in the gym bulking up and getting big and getting strong. And as he did that, his stamina goes out the window because he got big, bulky muscles with no stamina. His speed goes out the window. His flexibility goes out the window. And his great punch resistance that he had when he was in shape and loose and light was now tight, and he gets hit with a punch, he can't take a punch anymore. Okay? Not only that, as he's concentrating on his bodybuilding, he's losing his technical ability. He's standing there with his hands down, which he didn't used to do. In each fight, the last 6 fights since Klitschko, he's gotten worse and worse and worse because he got into this new school training. So then you look at the situation, and he's fighting a guy at the last minute who's short, overweight, but he has heart, he knows how to fight. But he had no pressure on him. He could pick when he wants to fight, therefore you're not going to drain his battery. But if you put pressure on Ruiz, he wouldn't be able to last because he wasn't in a condition to last 12 rounds if he was being pressured. But all he was being done was a guy in front of him punching down, which is the first thing you teach a beginner. You don't punch down to a short guy and shorten your reach to let him come in and throw punches over your hands. That's what he was doing in the fight. Then he runs, gets gassed. So you see that because of the difference in training, right? Okay, but what I want to talk about is instead of the difference, you look at the situation and say, how can we get it better? And I get confused on something. If you take boxing, which applies to life and simulates life back and forth in many, many ways, you can look at this and compare it to that. Anybody, whether you're in the sport of boxing or if you're in life, and if you are handed a project, and you're supposed to take that project and take it over, what do? In life, you look at, you analyze it. What's there? What's good about it? Let's not change all the good. Let's keep the good. Let's get rid of the bad. When we get rid of the bad, let's now add more good to it. We got our finished product. That's what you do. You do that the same in boxing. But what happens in boxing, there's not the loyalty that used to be years ago where one trainer would have a guy for 20 years. I was fortunate to have Freeman Barr for 21 years as a pro. And if not for sickness, he would have been an all-time great. But the sarcoidosis kept him from that. But as it was, he did achieve greatness and won 5 titles. And he's a member of the Hall of Fame. But he was held back with a lung disease. But we were together 21 years. That's loyalty. You don't have that today. You have a guy who will get in the gym for 2 or 3 years. He's learning. He's doing okay. He has his first loss. Not his fault. Coach's fault. Finds a new trainer. New trainer looks at him. He doesn't analyze what's there. He doesn't know what's there. He put a towel on his shoulder. He's a trainer. The kid puts him in his future in this guy. He looks at him, doesn't look and say what's good. I mean, obviously, if you won a few fights, you had to do something right. And there has to be some wrong. So look at it. And he says, get rid of it. If it's bad, keep it. If it's good, then go on. No, they start him over from scratch. Now he has to do it my way. And too many times, these trainers, it's all my way. Instead of looking and analyzing the person that you're training and saying, some are tall and some are short, some are strong and some are not, some are faster and some are not, you train them for what their ability is. What they're doing is training them how they know what they know, which is usually wrong. So what happens is, they start them over from scratch. They get a couple of fights, they win, they lose, they go to another trainer. And the process keeps repeating. And the sad thing about it is the fighter who never has any stability in the sport, who's trained so many different ways, he gets all mixed up and he keeps reverting back to wrong things, his career is down the tubes and ruined. And this happens over and over and over again. Is that correct? I mean, you guys agree with that? Your knowledge, we've been around the sport, many of you. What I'm saying, is that pretty accurate?
The first thing the fighter says, well, I couldn't learn anymore with that coach.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're shut
He
down.
thinks he knows everything. Now, there's a lot of things in there. So the big difference they asked me, which I looked at, the difference between the fighters themselves. The fighters today have $1 million dreams, but they got minimum wage work ethic. Analyze that. I thought of that a couple of weeks ago. $1 million dreams are out there. Yeah, I want to be great. But they won't do what it takes to be great. They want shortcuts. They want to get there quick. Well, how are you going to get to 12th grade quick when you're in 1st grade? You got to go through each year. And you got to learn, and you got to keep progressing. And a guy comes in the gym right away and he wants to spar. Don't even know how to stand up properly. So he wants this and he wants that. Well, wait a minute. You want to be a fighter or not? You want to be a fighter, then start from the beginning. There's no shortcuts. It's hard work. But everybody doesn't have to be a fighter. But everybody can get something out of the sport. Right? People will come in the gym. There'll be a few that'll turn into great pros if they have the proper teaching. Others will be pretty good amateurs with good instruction. Most will never box or box once or twice. But everybody can benefit if they stay in that gym. And that's what your attitude should be. Now, if you're a trainer, you shouldn't just be a trainer because you watch someone on YouTube and do the same thing they're doing. Because what you're watching today is usually wrong. And it's sad to see, and people today don't even know it. But the question that I have and the challenge I want to make to you guys and to get out and spread the word is this. Educate them on the proper method, but you don't just say do it this way. You do it this way because. This is how you do it. This is why you do it. This is when you do it. Now, the bad things about a lot of people, they read the book, or they look at the YouTube, or they talk to their friends, and they go and train this athlete who's young. He's got a limited number of years to become a great, successful boxer. And they're ruining his technique. And the feet are so wide when they stand up like that. I'm looking for Bob to say, fighting out of the red and blue corner. And with the wide feet, they can't turn their hips into a punch. And they do this mitt work. They call themselves mitt masters. I'm a mitt man. In the old days, we didn't even have mitts. You know what fighters did to work? They didn't go to war in the gym and try to win a fight sparring. What's there to win? That's your teammate. Why are you trying to hurt him in the ring? You're supposed to get better. You're supposed to get better and make him better. You work together as teammates. You perfect things. You don't go to war in a ring, in a gym, which they do, and then they leave their fight in the ring. They got nothing for the real fight. So you get these guys today, they're mitt men. In the old days, you put two guys together in the ring with gloves on, and they would throw their punches, and they would block their punches, and they would counter punch, and they help each other get better. That was the forerunner of the mitts, so to speak, right? Am I right, Pete? That's how the mitts really started, from guys saying, they're seeing the guys working with the regular gloves on as today's people work with mitts, right? Throw to punch block, right there? Throw to punch block. That's what they do. Well, what happens then is these guys today who had never boxed, who became a trainer, who the athlete entrusted a career with, they grab the mitts. That's their specialty now. They're the mitt man. They could do all this fancy stuff they do with it there, and they look to the camera when they're done, look at me. What is the trainer's job? To make the fighter good. Who cares about you? You're a trainer because you had your time. Now you're supposed to go on with the sport to bring it to the next generation. So what do you care to look fancy and look to the camera for the camera to look at you? You look at YouTube one after another. As soon as I see a guy with mitts do that, I'm going to look at it. As soon as I see him put his left hand up to catch a jab, I won't even watch it. Now, there's going to be controversy in that because 95%, maybe 96% of every trainer today in the United States, every trainer in the gym catches a jab with a left hand. If I had a cue card, I was talking to Nate Campbell who was going to come in here and hold up a cue card, and I was going to say, how does that sound? And he'll hold up a cue card, everybody yell, stupid! But he's not here, I don't have the cue card, so I can't do that. But think about this. If you have a guy in front of you, and you're supposed to be taught how to fight the guy in front of you, the thing to realize, if you're fighting each other face to face, you both can bang away. But if I'm at an angle over here and you're over here, I can bang away and you can't. And if you adjust and I move back here, I still have my angle. You're not in front of the guy. Okay, the other thing is your body can move one of two ways. It can move this way, as one unit from the floor, hip, shoulder, that way, and that way. And that's how you throw your punches. Okay? Your body can go up or down. You go up or down. You never want to go this way, this way, this way, or this way. In the old days in the gyms, they used to yell out, Eileen is in the house. Eileen is that one-legged girl that eats IHOP. Always leaning the wrong way. There's no Eileens in boxing if you're successful, because if I'm leaning this way, and you're an old school fighter and you stand over here, I can't hit you with anything. I can't hit you here and I can't hit you here. And you think I'm going to get more power on this punch with my left hand, I actually got less power because the punch doesn't come with your body, it comes from the floor, turning and pivoting your hips, having straight. So your feet are in front of you, shoulder width, not wide. And your feet only go frontwards and you put your stance back. You never leave your stance. You see people will throw a punch, and the second punch they're off balance. The trainer today says, reset, reset. Why reset? Stay in balance. The trainer doesn't know how to teach them to stay in balance. So they yell, reset. Never ever reset. Reset. Reset means you can't throw a punch because you're not in balance. You can't slip a punch, you can't move, you can't do anything, you're stuck. Why you reset? No, stay in balance. If you stay in balance, you can do anything. Not only can you stay in balance and do anything in balance, because you're in balance, and you can change your height up and down, like if you punch him down, you don't punch down, you punch down this way, straight out. Now he's further away with your reach. He can't get to you. You can't throw a punch over your shot. I'm from here, look at that. Now going back to that mitt, I'm standing here because I've got my stance proper. I'm throwing my jab. Elbows down. Never. You see these guys today. There's no snap on that punch. There's no snap. There's no guard for the chin. There's a right hand. There's a body wide open. The elbow's down. You come straight out, straight out, straight out, and right at the end it snaps. And as it snaps, that's when the foot hits. You pushed out together, one motion. You step on that. That's when it lands. That's also when your hand, which has been relaxed, now tightens. You make sure the hand tightens at impact. Because if you hit with a loose hand, you have double impacted hand injuries. If you stand here tight all the time, you're worn out, no time at all. You are totally relaxed. Your elbow is on your body. You're relaxed. You step out, and that's when you tighten right at impact, right there. Now, if it comes straight out, I got my shoulder blocking my chin. You cannot hit me with a right hand over there. Hit me behind the head. You can't hit me there. Impossible. If you hit me like this, yeah. So go back to the guy with the mitts now. The guy puts his towel on his shoulder. He's a mitt man. Hit the jab over here. Okay, I'm here. Throw the jab over here. That's what they do all day in a gym. Jab over here. Now, what does that do? What do you see? My chin's wide open. There's the right hand right over top. There's no shoulder blocking it. My hand's going sideways here. It's not a proper jab. It's right here. And then my right hand's coming back over here. And I'm doing the same thing. I'm going here, here, here. And what's happening there? You are shortening your reach. They're closer to you. They can land their punches. You got no protection on your head. You got no power in your punches. Everything is 100% wrong. And that's only part of it. The mitt man, the specialist, destroys the jab. You look today, there's no jabs. No proper jabs. There's no proper distance. There's no proper angles because of that. Big part of it. Now what makes it worse is I have to know my distance to get my punch thrown so it lands on the target, right? Lands on target, so I have to know my distance. If I'm starting my punch and I'm doing it properly, and all of a sudden that mitt's coming at me, the distance changed in midstream. How do I learn my distance? How do I know where to go to land the punch at the end of the punch? You never want to slap at it. Ever. You're changing. Leave it right there. In a real fight, and the way we did it in the old days in the gym before mitts, we'd stand like this. Here comes a jab. Boom. Catch a jab. Catch a jab. Catch a jab, throw a right hand over the top. Catch a hook right here. Catch an uppercut right here. That hand moves here, here, here. And there's your body shot right there. I got perfect guard right there with that little movement. No matter how fast that fighter is, he could be twice as fast as me. He cannot throw a punch faster than I can go this if I'm slow. If I'm slow and he's fast, I can do that fast and he can land. My hand is here, I will never get hit with a punch, even if I don't see it. My hand's in the right place. Got my hand down here, I'm in trouble. I got to see it, I got to react to it, then I got to move. And when I remove, I'm going the wrong way. Now going back to being in proper balance, I can start a punch and I can change it. I'm coming in with an uppercut. I drop down, and also in the uppercut, your stances here, you never bring your hand down to throw up there. Never bring my hand back here to throw a punch here. Never bring my hand out here to throw a punch there. You ever see a sprinter lined up in a box? He's ready to go. The gun's going to fire. Fires the gun, and he turns 5 yards back to get a head start. He pushes out of the block and goes forward, right? If your hand's in the proper position, you just come straight ahead with it. Straight ahead with it. You don't bring it back here. I bring it back here, and what comes from right there, just count it. I'm here. What comes? See, throw your uppercut. If I want to throw an uppercut, I'm dropping straight down. Because I can go up or down. I can go this way. I won't lean. So I go this way, right? I'm starting my uppercut. As I start my uppercut, I see him coming for it. Good balance. I can turn midstream, change it to a hook. I started here, I see that boom. Change it midstream because my balance lets me do it. If I'm hanging out there, I'm committed. Can't do it. Okay? If your hands are tight, you got these guys, you get in a picture, look at the pictures today, see how many people pose like this. Where's that cue card, right? Is it stupid? Nate's not here. But anyway, you stand like this, If I'm fighting you and I move over here, I take this hand out of the equation, you can't backhand me. But today's fighters stand in front of each other, so they take turns going like this to each other. And you can see it coming a mile away. If the hand is right here, I can shoot it straight right there. The distance is so small. It's so quick. Here, it travels a long way before it gets there. And there's no power and there's no snap on it. And I'm wide open. And the old fighter will take advantage of that. But oh, it's a Philly shell. No, Philly shell, you turn. There's your shell and shoulder. Georgia Benton days. It's not this garbage. So my problem is, don't gush over the outstanding fighters today. Help the fighters today improve by getting the trainers taught properly. And what I don't understand, if you spend, which I've done several times with a trainer who wants to say, I want to become a good trainer, show me how to become better. And I said, well, first of all, don't ever catch the jab with the left hand because you're teaching them wrong. Besides that, they got no hip rotation. You see arms going. Feet never moves. Hips never move. They're throwing arms on. And they look at that and all the comments on the postings, oh, great, he looks great, he looks good, he's fast. It's all wrong. And how are they going to get in the gym if they're throwing a jab here and a right hand here? Fight time comes and a target is there. If the target's here in the fight, jab, right hand, right on the button, right down the pipe, then why are you practicing this way? I don't get it. So you tell someone this in a gym, they say they want to learn, you tell them, oh yeah, I understand that, it makes sense. So if you tell someone who understands it, they agree it makes sense, that is correct, then you turn around and they go in the ring right away with the left hand up. Over and over and over again. You see it constantly, and I don't understand it. You get things like these people today inventing new things. You can't invent new things when the old things work and the new things don't. As long as things are good, you keep it. When you keep the good and you analyze what's not good and get rid of the good, bad, now you've got a product that's pretty good because what's there is good. And the bad's gone, now you can start adding more good to it. And that's the whole process of making them better fighters. You got stuff today, you've seen it yourself, I'm sure, these giant tires they put on the ground. And a guy puts a foot in the tire, the other guy puts a foot in the tire, and they lean back like this, and the left leg is stiff and straight, and they go one direction only in circles, throwing body shots like this. You're teaching them how to stand wrong. You're teaching them how to throat punch it without turning the body into it. You're teaching them how to put their foot in a bad position, and they go into one circle all day long. Now, what is that? They didn't have tires in the old days except on cars. They used to be hijacked in the neighborhood. That's all we had before. We didn't have it like this. They got these noodles that people swim with, right? Now, you know what that does to a fighter if you analyze it? First of all, they got this noodle, they're holding at the end of here, right? Long thing. And they go like this, and this whole thing is coming at them, bending in 3 places. And you got the body guys coming out with their arms because they don't want that thing to hit them here, here, and here. So they're blocking it like this. They're going, oh, that looks great. Well, there's no punch that comes at you 4 places at the same time. So you're teaching them not to keep their arm close to the body. You're teaching them to go out in front and block from all different weird angles, which you should never do. Everything you should do will be to perfect the fighter. Fighter needs to run in the morning. They need to do it on their own if they're a real fighter. And you can sort them out that way. And then, when they run on their own, they're recovered during the day. They have to train at night because they fight at night. If you own a gym and you want to be home with your family at night, then you're doing a disservice to your fighters if you make them train in the afternoon, because they don't fight in the afternoon. Their body fights at night. They got to be adjusted to fighting at night. A fighter fights in heat. In the ring, and many people here have been in the ring many times, it's hot. And if it's televised, it's even hotter because you have ring lights and you got TV lights. You can't train in air conditioning like they do in these health clubs today and expect to be strong in the ring when it's hot. You train in the heat, so you're used to it. Okay? Then these people gush 2 or 3 and 4 or 5 bottles of water during their session in the gym. Then they get waterlogged and they get feeling horrible. No, you drink water during the daytime a lot. You don't drink much during the gym. You rinse out a little slight gym because you're sweating out toxins and stuff during your gym workout. Then it's over with, then you can drink more water. But you don't drink a lot while you're training. they fill up too much of water and they get sluggish. Okay. Then they got these things I see with these, looks like ping pong paddles, racquetball, mitts with racquetball, throwing like this. What the heck is a racquetball got to do with boxing? Because what you're doing is you're not teaching them the distance. You're coming at them and that thing's flipping like this, and they can't learn exactly where to stand to pinpoint their accuracy, their punches, to step in, throw a punch, and land that punch at the end of their punch on the target where they need to move. They have to know where to do that. And if you're constantly, doing weird stuff, they don't learn that. You're actually doing a disservice. It's like, I want to be a great piano player, so let me practice the guitar. Doesn't add up. I need that cue card again. But, you know, these things, it just doesn't make sense. When somebody wants to be a trainer, why? Ask that person why. Because they can't be a fighter? Or is it because they were a fighter and now they want to help the next generation? In some instances, it was because they were a fighter, they love the sport, they want to pass it on to the next generation. In many instances, because they don't want to box, they want to be in the game and direct other boxers, and they don't know what they're doing, and they're actually hurting all their careers, these boxers. But that's multiplying. You know, that's out there all over the place. And that's not good, because we're not improving. As I said earlier, those of us who saw fighters from the 40s and 50s and see fighters today, there's a huge difference. The slickness is there. You could have someone like a Floyd Mayweather, who was the best fighter of this era by far, in my opinion, who had, say, 51 fights if you count the exhibitions that they put on his record, spread over 21 years against specific opponents, and say, that's the greatest of all time. And I said, did you hear of Harry Greb? Harry Greb had 45 fights in 1 year and won every one of them in middleweight, light heavy, and heavyweights. And of the fighters he beat, 11 of them were Hall of Famers in the same year. Okay? Then you got a situation where you got the media today saying, oh, he's going after Rocky Marciano's record of 49-0 a couple of years ago. Right? Remember all that media? That's not the record for a welterweight. Marciano's the record for a heavyweight. What does the record of a welterweight have to do with the record of a heavyweight? How is he going after his record? He's not a heavyweight. Okay? Then you go back to his weight class, and you look at all the fighters that had many more than 50 fights in a row. And Ricardo Lopez, the small guy, had 51-0 and 1 draw. Okay, when he retired. You had someone like Ray Robinson had won 85 consecutive amateur fights before he turned pro. Turned pro, he had 65 consecutive wins. He took a fight moving up against Jake LaMotta, giving up 10 pounds in weight with 101 fever, was told to cancel the fight. He said no, people bought tickets. He fought him and lost a split decision. First fight he ever lost. He asked LaMotta for a rematch. Well, not like today. It wasn't 2 years, 3 years later. It was 3 weeks later. In the meantime, he flew out to California and fought Jackie Wilson, the undefeated #1 welterweight in the world, who was an Olympian, and beat him the next week. Then he came back 2 weeks later, beat LaMotta then and 4 more times after that. And he won 93 consecutive after that 1 loss. And then he retired. And when he retired, there's an elimination tournament for his successor as champion. Then he says, you know what, when I was champion, I beat him. He comes out of retirement 5 different times and wins the title again. Okay? How does this, and he was a welterweight at his best. And then he was a middleweight after that, right? And he fought Joey Maxson for the light heavyweight title in the heat, where he collapsed after 14 rounds when he won 9 of those 14 previous rounds, and the referee collapsed in round 10. The only title fight where the referee didn't make it to the end. He wasn't fighting. And that's him. Now, you look at the situation, too. That was when they had 8 weight classes. Then they had maybe 10 when they came up with a junior welterweight, came back in vogue in the 60s. Not 17 weight classes. And not 3 different major organizations and 14 other minor organizations. We got one world we live in, but we got 17 world champions? Wait a minute. Where's that sign again? That stupid sign. It just doesn't make sense. And See, we in this room and we in this hotel for the weekend honoring the people getting inducted, like this gentleman in the back, an old friend, Henry Grooms, that I've known from Michigan days, Kalamazoo, getting inducted, which I'm happy to, we're both alive to see this day. It's great to be here this weekend enjoying things, but think about this. We're all here because we care about the sport, we like the sport, but the sport is not good today. You have people, think about character. You have a fighter today. He's signed to fight another fighter. And what do you see on the media? He's no good. He's terrible. I'm going to knock him out in 3 rounds. I'm going to beat him to death. Why would anyone want to go watch a fight that's, when he fights an easy guy, he's going to beat to death 3 rounds?
Putting yourself down.
Yeah. But now think about this. Fight's going to take place. When it does, you're either going to win or you're not, right? If you beat the guy, what did you just do? I beat someone who can't fight. Big deal. If you get beat by him, it is a big deal. You just got beat by someone who can't fight. Now, in the old days, I'm talking about old days, what that was, I got a fight coming up with this guy, and he's a great fighter. And I can't wait to fight him because I'm going to work hard in the gym to become great enough to beat him. And I'm going to kill myself to get ready for that fight because I know he is great. And you guys better come and watch it because we're going to put on a show. We're both coming to put on a show. I'm going to do the best I can to beat him. Now, when you fight him, you either beat a great fighter or you got beat by a great fighter. Much better. That's the difference, right? So I see things like this, and I said if these fighters would only run as much as their mouth, they would be in shape. Today you have a trainer, an assistant trainer, and a promoter and a cut man, and a spiritual advisor, and a massage therapist, and a strength and conditioning coach, and a matchmaker, and a bookmaker, and a promoter, and all these people, right? And they're tired after 4 rounds, holding each other up. In the old days, you had a trainer who was the cut man, who was everything, the spiritual advisor, the nutritionist, everything for the fighter, right? And they went 15 rounds nonstop. Now, if today's fighters are bigger, stronger, faster, then how come they're done after 4 rounds and the old ones kept going for 15 rounds? With all that extra stuff. It's because the extra stuff doesn't enhance, it takes from. You can't practice the piano and be good at the guitar. You can be good on both. But no. Then you got these guys today. What's that word? Amphibious or ambidextrous? On amphetamines. All those AM words. They're there, they're screwing up the way they fight. First of all, let me go back. You need to fight what's natural to you. You're either a left-hand or right-hand person. You need to fight what's natural. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Your strongest side you want back, whether it be left or right, so that when you step in, you got your whole weight from the floor, through your hips, through your shoulder, into your strong hand. On the lead hand, which you perfect with snapping and power, you're setting up the power hand. Now, why would I want my power hand in front to lessen the force of that? And he gets past my strong hand, now I got my weak hand back here. That's just one aspect. But the other thing that's really important, more important to me, is your brain is wired depending on you're left-handed or right-handed. It's like a mirror. Everything's the opposite. A person has a stroke. You have a stroke on your right side, it affects your left side of your body, and vice versa. What that means is a right-handed person, the first vision that comes into their brain that they can compute is from the left side. If you're a southpaw, the first vision that comes into your brain that your body can compute properly is from your right eye. That's why a lefty, a right-hand person stands with the left side up front. Put the left eye out there. If you watch someone sit down in the chair, don't pay attention to them, tell them get up. 99 times out of 100, the foot they put in front tells you what they are, left-handed or right-handed. If they get up in the chair, they can put this foot in front, they want the left side out front to survey everything, to react to it, to analyze it. If they're a southpaw, they'll be sitting in that chair, they get up like this. They want that eye to analyze the whole world, what's coming out. Since we were born young, I mean, way back our ancestors, that's natural. You get up, it's your natural side, you want your natural side to the front to assess the danger, to know how to react. So if a person is a right-handed person, by putting their right hand back, they got the power hand back, as I said, but they also got their proper eye in front to analyze and see and react to it. They can be quicker. You can see it opening, I can react quicker. I can see a punch count, I can react quicker. So you want to be your natural side. Now you see these guys today, 1 second in this way, 1 second in that way, and they're screwing up two sides instead of perfecting one side. And they think they're confusing their opponent, they're confusing themselves because they don't know how to fight. Need that cue card. But you want to look at the situation that way. You do what's right for you. People remember Marvin Hagler, the all-time great middleweight. The rough, tough Camden originally, that fought out of Brockton, Mass. Short, strong, great chin. And the controversy when he fought Ray Leonard, and people to this day swear one way or the other, Hagler won no doubt, Leonard won no doubt. Analyze it for a second. First of all, how many rounds did that fight take place? That was a 12-round fight. Okay. Okay, now, you got a 12-round fight. If you break it down, a few rounds Leonard won, there was no question. A few rounds Hagler won, no question. So forget the rounds that there's no question. All the other rounds were close. That's where the problem is. All the close rounds. The rounds Leonard won was no problem. The rounds Hagler won, no problem. They were obvious. All the close rounds was where the problem was. Now, every single close round, Ray Leonard did what Ray Robinson did, what the greats did years ago that today's fighters have no idea to do, is he utilized the clock because he knows the clock in his head. You start and finish every round in your form. You start the first 30 seconds of a round fast, because the bell rings, the judges are looking. If you want to coast, you coast in the middle of the round. Judges are also coasting a little bit, then they catch themselves and they see the last part of the round, because they caught themselves. So the first and last impression was always Leonard. Every time the bell rang, he sat in his corner, Hagler walked across the ring. Now, if you utilize that strategy and you learn the clock in your head, then what you should do is put that into play and analyze what happens. Let's say my opponent is cut. I finished a round in my corner. He's walking across the ring. You're taking 10 seconds away from the corner man to stop that cut. That 10 seconds to stop that cut may be the difference in him being able to stop it or not, winning the fight or not, because you made him go back from your corner instead of finishing in his corner where he sat down. Conversely, if you are cut and you're in your corner and you sit right down, I can start working immediately on it, and it might keep me in a fight. That's just one aspect of it. The other thing is, how many times do you people see the bell ring, guys back in the corner, waiting to sit down? The stool should be there for him. The corner man should know the clock in his head, the 1 minute between rounds, he knows what to work with. He knows the 3-minute clock, so he's got the stool in the corner when the guy sits down all together. You know, all this has to be choreographed properly. If it's not, you're wasting time. There's not time as it is. You got 60 seconds between rounds. You got 10 seconds lost with seconds out. That means you got 50 seconds to work with, and out of the 50 seconds, you minus what it takes for the guy to sit down in the corner and for you to get in the ring and start working with him. Not a lot of time. Okay? So you get in the corner, give me the water bottle for 20 seconds. The water bottle. Talking all over, where's the water bottle? You can't find it. You know? And then when they have the water bottle, then as soon as he sits down, he's surrounded with it, and he's breathing so hard, he's choking on it. Right? You see this all the time. And a guy walks to the corner exhausted, had a hard round. The guy looks at, how do you feel? That's the worst thing that I can, where's that Stein? I need that Stephen sign. How do you feel? That's the worst thing you can tell a tired fighter. Okay? You've got to be positive, not negative. You can't tell a fighter, what are you doing in there? You're supposed to tell him what to do. He should be telling you, what should I be doing in there? Instead of you saying, what are you doing in there? You're not doing nothing. You got to throw more punches. Which punches? Well, how do I get into them? I don't know. Just throw more punches. You know, I see this, it's amazing, because the career of the fighter is a short few years in his prime. You can't waste it for the fighter, because I'm an ego guy. I want to be a trainer. I want to do fancy stuff and look to the mirror. Look at me. Look to the camera. No, you're there for the fighter. Make the fighter great. Okay, that's what we're missing in the sport. So if you go out in the world of boxing and around the rings, and you see these things, try to help and correct it, I just don't understand, like, can anyone tell me really why, if you know, if I put my left hand up to catch a mitt, or catch a glove on a mitt, if I'm teaching my guy to throw a jab like this, and a right hand like this, and he understands that, why would he go back and do that? Why wouldn't he go back and catch a jab right here? Here's your jab. Throw the jab. Boom. Here's your right hand right there. It's the same target. When you get in the ring, you're throwing the same target, the chin. And it's not out here. It's right there. Are you afraid of getting hit? If you're a trainer, you shouldn't be a trainer. But be there, right there. Here comes the jab. Boom. Here comes the right hand. Okay? You're not going to go to backhand with the mitts on, so you put the hand right here to catch the hook. There's your jab, there's your right hand, there's your hook, there's your one uppercut, there's your other uppercut. That's the mitts right there, tight. Okay? Now what we do with mitts in my gym is we use the mitts the way we fighters used gloves in the old days. We'll get in the ring, we'll get in our guard, we're moving around with the fighter, I'm changing distance, I'm changing angles. I'm not standing in front of you and doing fancy stuff and telling you to call out numbers. That's another thing, calling out numbers. You call it a 1, 2, 1, 2, a 4, 3. Why call numbers? You're giving an extra burden to a guy in stress in a fight. Jab right in. Hook. I'm going to throw a 2. Wait a minute, 2. What is a 2? Is that a hook or an uppercut? What's a 3? Don't give any hesitation for the guy to think. It should be simple. It should be clear. Jab, no confusion there. Right hand, no confusion. Uppercut. I don't use numbers. I don't coach a guy in the middle of a round for a couple of reasons. I'm going to tell the opponent what we're going to do. And they're focused on the fight. If they're focused on what I'm going to say, they're not trained properly. Because what you don't want to do is stand over a person in the gym and tell them what to do. What you want to do is you want to show them what to do, tell them what to do, and show them how and why. Then you go to work during the round. And you apply that during the round. And you perfect it, and you can improve upon it for you personally on what you're learning. The round's over, now you talk to him. I'm talking in the gym. So you have to train the way you fight. You can't go to the gym, rubber tires, ping pong paddles, noodles for swimming, lifting weights. I put these little hand weights in my hand to shadow box with, which teaches me to be real tight when I'm throwing punches. Instead of putting a 16-ounce glove in your hand, weighs the same thing. Now I can be loosening a 16-ounce glove. Simple stuff like that. I don't understand these things. See, I was fortunate, Henry was fortunate, coming from the old days, and Pete, and Brian, and Julio, came from the old days where you did things differently, and we had mentors. And today we don't have that, because what's out there is a new generation that they want to do it what they want to do, and it's sad to watch them destroy good athletes because they don't know what they're doing, and the athletes putting their hand in. Are there any questions on anything I've said or anything, or any disagreements or agreements? And there's the pink, the champ, Pink Leonard.
You're the best with the zest, passed all the tests, better than the best. Hey, Conley! How you doing, man?
Now keep it going.
God bless you.
Keep it going, Gary.
I'm sorry.
It's good. No, it's all good.
Hey, Gary.
Hey.
It's all good. Now we've got, at this point, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 8 remaining 2009 inductees. We're in the ring for this. 4 of the 8, right?
I want to comment on the
Yes.
the Hagler and Leonard.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't finish that, but go ahead and comment first, then I want to finish what you're
Okay,
saying.
if I can. Everybody remembers that bout. It was 12 rounds. Now, do you know why it was 12 rounds? We were in the 15-round era.
Right.
We were in
Also, the
the
bigger
15.
gloves and the smaller ring. That's the other thing.
There was the argument.
The bigger ring, I mean. Yeah.
Leonard was not a legitimate middleweight, smaller. Hagler was a legitimate middleweight, stronger, bigger. At the time, there was a big argument going on about thumb-attached gloves. They were just coming in, thumb-attached gloves, and the TV cameras were arguing about 12 to 15 rounds. Why? Because the TV promoters could not have 2 15-round world title fights in a 120-minute, 2-hour session. So now I painted the picture for you. Leonard wants to fight Hagler, but he knows he's bigger, he knows he's stronger, he's got to get an edge. And Hagler knows that Leonard does one thing with his jab. He was taught, just like Larry Holmes, every once in a while, and then bop! See what I just did?
Yep.
See that? So I'm here, and then pop! The referee's over there. That's how you know. That's an old school trick. The referee's over on that side, pop! Catch you, that thumbs out. So Leonard said, Hagler says, this kid's too quick. I'm going to force him to fight me with the thumb attached glove. Leonard counters and says, if we're going to do that shit, we are not fighting 15 rounds. He don't want to fight 15, and here's why. Hagler won, without doubt, 6, 9, and 12, and he hurt Leonard so bad in the 12th. If you remember, go look at the tape. Leonard come back at the end of the fight and collapsed in the corner. He was hurt in the 6th, and the 9th, and the 12th. That fight wouldn't have went 15 rounds, okay? But Hagler, champion, made the mistake of forcing him to fight with that thumb-attached glove, and that's why that fight ended in 12 rounds instead of 15. And that probably is what cost him.
And to add to what you're saying, Leonard also dictated that he fought in a 24-foot ring. We had more room to move to maneuver, get away.
Correct.
Okay, that was another thing he did. But the other thing that Hagler did so overconfident before the fight, which I was getting back to before, he went into the ring, and as I said, there were rounds that we talked about, close ones and ones that were short, one or the other, right? He gave up first 4 rounds of the fight by coming out as a right-handed fighter. He came out as a the first 4 rounds, he came out as a right-handed fighter. He was overconfident.
Yeah.
He was just there. So what he does, he comes out and basically gave up the first 4 rounds. Now he's only fighting a 12-round fight, which means only 8 rounds in the fight. And he's already lost the first 4 because he gave that up by coming out not in his natural side because he was so overconfident, all right? So that's going back to your natural side. Why are you doing what's not natural? If he would have done everything the same and gave up what he gave up to Leonard, but fought hard from round 1 as a southpaw, he still would have won the fight.
Yeah, I mean,
He given up
you
everything.
got to understand
But
something.
again, I need that cue card.
Hagler was world champ for 11 years.
And he was overconfident. He was coming out 5
And he
years.
never, I'll tell you, he never ducked anybody.
Yeah.
And he retired after that fight. That night,
was
he
it.
retired. He married an Italian actress, and Marvin lives in Milan, Italy. And I'll tell you a great story if you want to hear about a Marvin Hagler story. You guys, some of you know the story. It's 1995. We're at the IBF convention. We're in Peachtree Plaza in Atlanta, Georgia. And I had Ray Wheatley, the heavyweight champion from Australia, who's a boxing writer with me, had my wife Phyllis, and I had Big Desi Bloyd. Des Bloyd, a coal miner from New South Wales, ex-fighter, and had a face looked like somebody mashed him with a coal shovel. So we're down at a restaurant about 6 blocks away from the Peachtree Plaza. We're having lunch at a Chinese restaurant. That's not relevant to what we're doing, but we're in this restaurant. I pay the bill, and Desi is with me. Now, he's about a 220-pound, 5'11", thick as a brick looking guy. And he's got an IBF jacket on, with the IBF on the back of it. So my wife and Ray Wheatley walk out, and they go ahead of us, and now they're way up the hill going to the Peachtree, and I paid the bill, and now we're on the street, and we're coming down the street, and there's a black guy running in the street. Well, I don't want to give it away. It's a black guy out there, a young guy. Looks young. Looks like he's about 25 years old. Cut off sleeves. He's just running. Can't tell he's a fighter. He's just jogging. And so Big Desi was ahead of me about from here, beyond the wall up there, up the hill, and because I had some problem with the bill or something. Anyway, he's ahead of me far enough I can't hear him. But the black runner runs around and runs up the street. Now we're in Atlanta, in the heart of Atlanta, and he runs up to Desi and he does this. When I see that, I yell and I come running up there to him, and I see he's saying something to Des, and I just come right up there, boom, knock him back out the street. And I say, "Get off my man!" You know. He goes, "Hey, dude, I'm Marvin Hagler." I said, "Bullshit, Marvin Hagler lives in Milan." He goes, "I live in Milan." And then he took his baseball cap off, and I saw the scar from the Tommy Hearns. I said, oh, shit. I said, you could have added 2 more wins to your record. But you would have earned it. Anyway, he apologized. He laughed. He knew. And because I just took him for some street thing, you know, and I figured he was trying to hustle. What he was doing was, since Big Desi had the IDF, he wanted to find out what was going on, that he was there with an IDF jacket. So he was asking him that question. So then we find out, yeah, it is Marvin Hagler. And I said, Marvin, we're at the Peachtree Plaza for the IDF convention, and Willie the Worm Monroe is there. Him and Willie the Worm had 3 fights. Willie the Worm beat him one.
First one.
Okay. He said, he's here? He said, yeah. I said, well, what are you doing here if you live in Milan? He said, my son's graduating from high school. And he said, I've been here for a week. He said, I'll come to the hotel. So he came over to the hotel in the afternoon. Then later that night, after the graduation ceremony, he came back with a tuxedo on. So I got a picture with him, Willie the Worm, Michael Spinks, and all of us got the idea. He told the story. He said, this guy's about beat me up out there in the street today. And of course, we all had a big joke
I
and laugh.
heard Willie is in hospice right now doing poorly.
Who's that?
Willie.
Oh, Willie the Worm.
I heard
Yeah.
he's in hospice right now, not doing too well. That's what I heard.
Really?
I don't know how true it is. I got it from a reliable source. I just heard that.
What I wanted to add with that, Hagler was about I asked him, how much do you weigh? 167. He was 7 over, and he was just doing his road work, you know, just to stay in shape. Yeah, just to stay in shape. I said, are you still in the movies? Yes. He speaks Italian fluent, and Hagler always had that mob accent. I don't know if you've ever met Hagler, but he's from Brockton, but he talked like the guy from Brooklyn, you know, these guys, those guys, not for nothing. And when you hear Hagler speaking, you think it's some Italian behind him.
Last time I saw Marvin, I was teasing him because I said he's got an Italian accent.
Oh, yeah, he does, yeah.
But DD.
Good guy. Good. Anyway, I'll give you that little story.
DD, can I say something?
Yeah.
This government seems to be going, talking about that happening in the Brady fight. Let's go back a little bit. Because Angelo was training him, and I was working with Angelo at the time. Of course, after that fight, there was a bad incident between Ray and Angelo.
Right. You want to cut the money, yeah.
Right. But Ray was real smart. Fought a smart fight. First of all, he was out for about 3 years, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he knew the clock. 3.5 years he was
He
there.
had been out for 3 years. So who was expecting Ray to do a number on Animal Marvin Hagler? So he clocked him. He was clocking him. You know, that's what Angelo, that was his thing. You know, you got to clock him. And what he did is he took the guy out of his rhythm, his pattern, you know? Am I right?
Yep.
You know, Hagler, you know, he come, and, you know, when he get ready to deliver, he stepped back from him. He moved around. He did this. And then when he smothered him, he run his punches off and get around. Well, the showmanship. The crowd. You know, the judges. And he's scoring. You know? Yeah, but you say, at the end of the 12, he was like, wow. That was it, you know? But he had shot his whole wad. And that was that's what he wanted to do, you know?
Yeah.
And it discouraged the hell out of Hagler. He was like, how the hell, you know? He couldn't catch him. He couldn't nail him solid. That's what it was.
And you know,
he couldn't
you're
nail him solid.
100% accurate, 100% true with that.
Oh, was that
You
the
said
fight?
something too. You said something too, which I want to bring a point before I forget it. You said you got him out of rhythm, right?
Yes.
Okay, now think about something. You go to the gym today. There's music playing. They got earbuds in their head, listening to music. I need that cue card at, what does it say? Stupid. Here's why. Think about it. Everything you think about realistically, honestly. You want to be a great fighter, you got to do what great fighters do, right? Okay. How long is a round? 3 minutes. How long are most songs within the range? 3 minutes. Every single song has one rhythm. It could be slow, medium, fast, whatever, but it has one rhythm. You're in this gym, you're training one rhythm all day long. How are you going to change your rhythms in the fight? You never trained that way. You got to constantly pick it up, slow it down, pick it up, slow it down. You got to play with the rhythm. You got to put a person out of his rhythm. You cannot do harmful things and get success from that. And everything that's not related to you boxing is harming you because your time is being put in something that's taking you away from what you're trying to perfect. Think of that piano. You don't practice the piano to learn the guitar.
That's what fans are for, is to break rhythm.
You break rhythms, and you have to be able to do that. Now, Bernard Hopkins made a statement when he was about 50 years old, when I was talking to him one time, and he goes, if I was fighting in the olden era, when I reached the age of around 32 range, my career would have been over, like everyone else's career was over in that age, then I could hang on a little bit after here and there. But he said, what happens? My reflexes is down, my speed is down, my power is down, and they got so many great fighters, I got to get out of there or I'm not going to be the same. Today, I'm 50 years old, and these guys today are faster, stronger, younger. They don't know how to fight, and they can beat all of them. Now, isn't that something? He was in both eras. He got in the ring and showed the difference between the quality of the training. And that's what I'm talking about today. The people today who never saw the old fighters, or the people today that never had the experience of being around, they talk old school, they don't know what old school is. If you say, they talk cliches, old school fighter, what does that actually mean? It means something different to me and Brian and Henry and Pink, Larry, than it does to someone who was born in 1995, 2005, right? They don't know what old school is. So how do they say, he's old school? No, to me, you were either old school or you're no school. Because everything came afterward, there is no new school. You don't reinvent success. And there's no success in the quality of the fighters today compared to the fighters before. Therefore, why are you breaking the success training mechanism? That's what's happened today.